let's get started on this one. Plug was Julie, and what did you take away from this one?
Um, okay, I don't want to get ahead, but I'm gonna get ahead. Julie was the person they're looking for, right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, I made that connection, but I was listening to Audible because my book still hasn't come in. But I couldn't tell exactly if that was the same person. But now knowing that confirmed, that's very interesting. It's very ominous. Like you don't really get much out of it. You know, everybody disappeared, and that's all we get out of it. And it was very unclear what happened to her too. Uh, Very ominous, but I really did hook me. The atmosphere they created and the world building they did was very interesting there.
We get a little bit out of this one. So she's on a ship called the Scopuli. She's flying for an organization called the OPA. We know that the OPA is dealing with the Coalition Navy, which it doesn't start at this point, but the Coalition is Earth and Mars. There are pirates, and it's debatable which one she thinks is worse. Uh, there is a bit where we start with the characterization of Julie, where Julie is like, but we this is also stuff that's later or forward, and it doesn't go into this one too much just here, but it's like Julie's a girl boss character
Oh yeah.
in kind of funny ways. So one bit that I highlighted out was that where Julie is fist fighting with the guys because she's done 5 years of low gravity jujitsu, right? So
Yeah.
hashtag badass. And then she's like almost she's doing a lot of damage. She thinks that she's gonna win, and then out of nowhere gets punched in the face.
No single punch. Yeah.
Single punch
Crashes
down,
her
locked in a
dreams.
closet. Yep. Um, then uh, this is later on, but the reason why she's with the OPA is also funny in its own right because it's that same thing of like I don't know whether or not I think Julie's a moron or like Julie's the respectable sort of thing where it's like you imagine like college campus kind of thing. You're dealing with someone who's talking about how bad it is in like Palestine or whatever,
Oh
and you give them like the ultimatum of like, if you care so much, why don't you go join Hamas? And then Julie's the very odd person out and says, "Fuck you, I will."
yeah. She did give me that impression. I didn't really reading it at the beginning. I didn't really attribute her to a main character, but it started getting more and more so when she was like surviving these crazy conditions of like no water, no food, and
Well,
I,
she's Bear Grylls-ing it. She's drinking her own pee.
oh yeah, oh gosh,
Um,
does she have gravity at this time? I forget. I, or was her gravity cut off and she's just floating?
she's just floating at this time.
So she could like pee in the air, just like she doesn't even need a container. That's
Yep.
crazy. That's icky to think about.
She's peeing into a bag, but yeah.
Okay.
Um, and then the very end of this one is like that sort of very ominous thing. We know there's something supernatural going on because there's a separated head that's talking to her and asking her for help.
Yeah, I don't know. I attribute that to delusion, if not just because of the lack of food and water. But is it actually supernatural? Or was it? You probably if it explains it later, you probably don't want to spoil that.
I'll leave that one. I won't spoil
Leave
that
that
one.
one up. But I found
There's something ominous there.
okay. Good to know, because I kind of just waved it off of as like uh
She's gone crazy, like stir
yeah,
crazy or whatever. Yeah.
kind of like a Lord of the Flies talking to a pighead thing. That was how I actually thought of it the exact same way there. That's what it reminded me of. But that is good to note. I will need to remember that now.
All right. So after that one, we go to chapter one, which is the introduction of Jim Holden. Um, so the chapter one starts with that and ends with the the Canterbury getting the SOS message from the Scopuli.
All
So
right, yeah.
we're introduced to Jim. We're introduced to Naomi, Amos, Shed, a few very minor characters, so Ade and Padge, and Captain. What's his name? Captain McDowell. So there's a lot of I like how the book does like really I'm gonna call it subtle world building. I don't know if it is. It like weaves it in very neatly.
Yeah, good
So
character building. Side characters that don't even exist for a chapter, they've got great personalities, I guess.
yep. Yeah, so even Grin was talking about the poor guy who gets his arm pinched by a glacier patch,
Mm.
and we get like the first sort of glimpse of like the relationship between Earth and the Belt, as far as Jim who says like, "Hey, on Earth we've got like magic jelly now that can regrow your arm," and Padge who goes, "I don't even want it if you was it? I wouldn't even want it if you offered it to me. Like, I bet it turns you into an asshole."
It's very interesting the skepticism of some of the things too. I was really excited to see him see a character without an arm, but sadly it's taken from me brutally.
uh, See, just a generic sci-fi thing. There's like a lot of I think space fantasy type things go straight to like interstellar type stuff as far as how you can travel around the galaxy or whatever. So, the Expanse, for me at least, is very different in that it's just in the solar system. So, first page of chapter one, they talk about how the Epstein drive hadn't given humanity the stars, but it had delivered the planets. So they're not really going out far past, like, I think Neptune. Everything is happening within the solar system in the book.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And then also they give the story of this is 150 years after the discovery of the engine that lets people move around.
I missed that part. That's interesting. I was wondering how far in the future we were here. But okay, so if we're comparing it to like now, it's probably 200 years in the future, maybe.
Give or take. Yeah. It's not tremendously far in the future.
Yeah. I like how they called the ship to the Canterbury. I wonder if that comes back. That I feel like there's some symbolism there with the name, with Canterbury Tales.
Maybe. Let's see. What else we get here? Um, yeah, that's Jim flirting with Ade. And she's basically telling him that he's already made roots on the ship. And he's picked quite a shitty place to do it. He's not very
Yeah.
happy about it. Oh, also, this is one that I picked out this chapter because this ends with the SOS from the Scopuli. Uh, the reason why they stop is because they're the closest ship. So the law of the solar system was unequivocal. In an environment as hostile to life as space, the aid and goodwill of your fellow humans wasn't optional. The emergency signal, just by existing, obligated the nearest ship to stop and render aid. So this is like the culture of where they are in the belt, of like what you are obligated to do or what you're supposed to do.
Has every
So
planet agreed to that? Every group agreed to that? Because I feel like there's some iffy things that can, and like we see later, it does end up being a problem. But I feel like that should have been a problem with like pirates using it to their advantage multiple times. Um,
um,
beforehand, but it seems like that's a big problem, is forcing people to like have to go to that signal.
I don't know if they ever say it like it's a codified law or anything like that, but it's the right thing to do. And what we get out of this one is also that Jim's character is he likes doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So the right thing to do is when a ship is calling for help, you stop and you give them help, even if it cuts into your shore leave, even if it cuts into your profits, your bottom line, whatever it might be. Uh,
That's where the universe collides on itself for me, where that will never be realistic and happen. People are not that nice. People never will do that. But that makes sense. That's a nice. They're trying to cave the way to make it seem like the universe is kind of more at peace than it is. I guess it makes me feel like uh they've been at peace longer and are like kinder. But then, like as we see later, they're all like racist towards each other, other planets. So
it's a tenuous piece, yeah.
it's very interesting. to see that play out.
Trying to think what else I had in mind for this one. If, anything else? No, I don't think so. We just get characterization. Naomi is a very good engineer. Amos is her partner in crime, or he's like her second and does whatever she wants him to do. Jim is the second in command of the ship, and they've got like a very close knit family dynamic on the boat because they've been there for years. Like Jim's been there for 5 years. I think we hear later, or I think even here. There's a few people who come and go, but
It, it
it's a tight group.
it does make sense, like this type of environment being on one ship, like for 24/7 for a year or more. That's gonna naturally either draw you really, really close or have the people leave because they don't like it. So everyone, yeah, that makes sense for ships. I like how they did that.
Yeah, and then there's also a bit at the beginning. They speculate on the population size of the belt, and then they say it's somewhere between 50 and 100 million. So there's a lot of people out there.
Dang,
All right,
big number.
I think that's it for chapter one. I mean, they talk about Earth's population a little bit later, and Earth's population, I think, is 30 billion. So,
Oh, yeah. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't know why I attributed that to billion. Yeah, but yeah, million. That's a big number, but not as big as I would think.
yeah,
150 years after the technology, I wonder if people just don't like exactly what I said, space travel. People are hesitant, and the ones who do are go all out for it.
yeah. Well, the ones that are out there seem very, like the culture of the belt is like a mishmash of a whole lot of stuff, and it's interesting how they work.
Yeah.
So, chapter two is the introduction of Detective Miller, his partner Havelock, a bunch of the Star Helix guys, and also sort of the culture on Ceres. Uh, Assuming that I actually had to look this one up too, just to joggle my memory. So Ceres is a small like planetoid between between Mars and Jupiter. So it's like a dwarf planet. Um, and just the way it's set up, it's a big hub in the belt.
Interesting.
Um,
Did it say the
so
population of that? I'm
I
guessing
don't think
probably
so.
big.
Well, Ceres is like a quarter the size of the moon, so it's not
Oh,
particularly big size.
okay. Never
Yeah,
mind. I was thinking way bigger than the moon. Okay.
no, Ceres is small, um, but it's got a lot going on. So like the Canterbury it's traveling between Saturn and Ceres as it's like delivering water. Like that's their round trip.
Okay.
Uh, but two introduces Miller, and Miller's an interesting character.
Oh yeah.
So what did you? So chapter two starts with Miller and Havelock talking with a hooker about some some like repeat criminal, and it goes from that to Miller getting the kidnap job to look for Julie Mao, the character from the prologue.
Okay, I'm glad you made that connection before we started because I don't know why I thought they were different people at the beginning, and then I was like, no, why would they do that? Why would they just like leave that? So that makes sense, yeah. Um, that's gonna be exactly how they're connected, and I already see that getting set up. You already know, so I'm just speculating here, but um, I'm excited to see their paths intertwine. I like the detective too. So far, he's really neat. He kind of started to remind me of Sherlock Holmes, but way less smart. So far, but
Yeah, I don't think he's ever set up to be like a genius character at all. He's very good at talking to people. He's got his own sort of like charming way of talking to everyone. Um,
and the way he was reading someone and later on, I forget what chapter, but he seemed like he could read people's expressions pretty good and understand people. Uh,
he's good at reading people. He's good at like putting people at ease, stuff like that. So what is it? This is Miller talking with the prostitute, and Havelock is completely blindsided. So Havelock is an earther, and he's taken a job out working in the belt. Um, so Miller and this girl are talking in the Belter patois, or like the Belter Creole kind of language,
Mm.
and it's just like it's it's funny like how much shit is in it because it's a combination of Spanish, German, just some random onomatopoeia stuff. It's all over the place.
That's funny. Does it? I'm sure you have a copy. Does it show you what it looks like? Because I haven't seen it.
So it's still just written in English, but like the way that she's saying it. And then it was all pow, room full of blade boys howling and humping shank. Looked like a dance number, except that
That's
homie
what that
got let's look
was.
like he didn't didn't
Okay,
yeah.
that
He
makes
didn't
sense.
know nothing, never, ever, amen. You know, okay? Right?
That's awesome. I love that so much. It's just a bunch of like hype words, fun
And
words to
it's
say.
they're fun words, yeah. So K, of course, is Spanish. There's different stuff that's just like sort of yeah, just like fun words to say.
I love that so
Yeah.
much.
And what they did that's like pretty clever in this one is like whenever people are talking in Belter Creole, it's never important. So it's like a deliberate thing where like the Creole is fun, but the people who are saying it are saying like they're very minor things. Like, do you remember in what's it uh Blood Meridian when they're doing the like performance and she's like literally reading the fortune going through like the tarot.
Yeah.
And if you know, like maybe you can read into it. Or there's another joke which is like at the start of the thing, the movie, there's a guy from the Norwegian camp who's like running towards them, and he's like shouting the entire plot of the movie in Norwegian, where he's like, "Don't trust the dog's gonna kill you." But because he's speaking Norwegian and the audience is obviously like listening to it in English, they have no idea that he just like spoiled the entire movie. With this one, it literally is just like, yeah, she's saying that there's something weird going on with this gangster. And then the follow up to this one is Havelock and Miller just talking about what she said because Havelock is in like the position of us where we're like, I have no idea what the hell she just said. And Miller's breaking down of like a dance number is when you hire some other goons to try and fight you, but then you beat them up so that you look tough. Um,
That's a good
right?
word for it.
Yeah, things like that.
I do like that, and I hope that does come back in the future. At least the fun language people speak in it. That would be really cool to see more of.
There's a bit of it.
I'm excited for that. That's great.
Even in the chapters later on, I think we get to the riot a little bit forward, but there's more. Um, so yeah, Miller lived on Ceres his whole life. I think they say Miller's been a cop for like 30 years, so Miller's in his 50s, as opposed to Jim, who's in his early 30s.
Mm.
Um, they start talking about Star Helix. So Star Helix is a police and military garrison on Ceres. So they're contracted by like the Ceres governor to be law enforcement. Um,
And is
so
that
yeah,
just for their moon, or is that for the like entire? Uh, is that same private security do more than just that?
I think they just do the moon.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, or the dwarf planet,
Yeah.
but it's, it doesn't really matter that much. Uh, this is when we also get introduced to the idea of the OPA. So at the start of this one, we're just told that Julie is working for the OPA, or she's like hiding OPA secrets. Uh, Here we get the description of the OPA, which is living in the tradition of Al Capone and Hamas, the IRA, and the Red Marshals. The OPA was beloved by the people it helped and feared by the ones who got in its way. Part social movement, part wannabe nation, part terrorist network. It totally lacked an institutional conscience. So the OPA is like a very interesting conglomeration of like these groups that probably hate each other.
Yeah. They
Um,
can't really pin it down to one exact thing. It's a bunch of things combined. That's
it's a
interesting to
bunch of
me.
different things. They're like a pseudo government, and the uh, the relationship between Miller and the OPA is like strained, I think, because the OPA to him seems to be like a organized crime thing. Like they are just another mafia group or they're another like shakedown protection racket.
Hmm.
But a lot of the people around him have OPA sympathies, either like hidden or like overt. And meanwhile, he's got like a double whammy where he's working for Star Helix. Star Helix isn't a Belter organization; it's like an Earth one. Um, and we're told a couple times that both his police chief Shadid and also the governor of the moon of Ceres are like OPA sympathetic.
Interesting. I like the conflict there. I do like how they made this organization. So they set it up in a position where it's definitely going to be a big part of the story. So uh, I can tell so far, even by the chapters you read, it's getting really involved. So I do like that. I'm really excited to read more about that and figure out where that goes. A
Yeah.
great setup.
So Shadid calls in Miller and doesn't call in Havelock to give Miller the kidnap job to go after Julie.
That was racist.
Um,
How dare she?
yeah, a little bit. Um, she asks him, "Is everything going well with your partner?" Miller says, "Havelock's all right. Having him around makes people like me better by contrast. That's nice." And her smile, but her smile's only change was become half degree more genuine. Nothing like a little shared racism to build ties with the boss.
Yeah, that was my favorite line by far that we read so far.
So yeah, that's the a lot of animosity going on between just all these different groups. Um, let's see, anything else here? Uh, yeah, poor little rich girl sucks to be you, I guess, says Miller when he's looking at Julie's like profile.
Oh yeah, he did. He just like waved it off. He didn't really care about that, which was I found interesting. But he later seems to get more interested into it.
Yep, the last line from this chapter is the thing with Julie Mao. It was a sideshow, so he thinks that this is complete bullshit, which is like a uh, great little red herring line.
Yeah, it does. I mean, if I didn't know anything about tropes or like stories, I would also have agreed with him. It just seems like some dumb story that because it's the universe they've created. It does exactly seem. I can agree with his feelings towards it. I can
Like
see it.
he thinks there's something weird going on because the crime families or the organized crime groups are acting strange or they're not where they're supposed to be or they're like getting overthrown. Um, and then he gets this one little side gig, which is literally presented to him as like a favor to a investor. It's like,
Yeah,
okay,
exactly that. Yeah.
some dumb shit. Um, okay, so after that one, we jump back to Holden. So after 2 full days in high gravity, Holden's knees and back ached. So I think they're on the night at this. Oh no, not yet. They're going in. They're done with the burn towards the ship from the Canterbury, and now they're going into the night. And this is when we meet Alex Kamal, who is another sort of world building character. Uh, where Alex is an Indian guy who talks with a Texas drawl because the Martian culture or Mars was colonized by Indians, East Asians, and Texans, and the drawl is contagious.
That's awesome.
Uh, and the narrator did a great job with it because he also does he does the really heavy drawl.
Yeah.
Uh, and what else? Uh, Naomi says that she likes Alex because he's a Boolean, which means cheerful and like cheerful and bubbly. And Holden says, I don't know what a Boolean means, but if it means Alex, it makes me tired. So even though they are like a family group, they do get on each other's nerves, which I guess makes them even more like that sort of tight knit family group.
Yeah. That just
Uh,
sold the idea to me.
Howdy, gentlemen.
how's it going?
Doing pretty decent, relatively. A little bit in my head, but in my own head. Doing some Far Cry 5 because,
All right. So we're in the middle of our book club. We're going through the first few chapters of Leviathan Wakes. Have you read it?
Leviathan Wakes. The name sounds familiar, but I don't. I will say I'm a failure of the modern educational system to where they made it so I hate reading books.
All right. Well, they also made a TV show out of this one. First couple seasons are pretty good. Then season 3 makes me very sad.
Does it follow the book?
Seasons 1 and 2 do.
Oh, interesting.
And then 3 sort of deviates, and I don't like it.
I'll let you enjoy your books and stuff. I wish I could enjoy them as much as other people, but it also has to deal with my ADHD. I can't sit down and read a book because it's like, okay, well, I'm reading, but I it's not giving me any serotonin.
Gotcha. There's always audio. But talk to you later.
You're not gonna find anybody that's read the book, I think. That's 3 people in a row.
Yeah.
You're converting people though, slowly.
I'm trying. Yeah. So this was the Mariner Valley drawl from Mars. East Indians, Chinese, and a small contingent of Texans. Um, oh, and then like Holden's really annoyed by it because he goes like Martians have never seen a horse. uh, there are no cowboys on Earth. Why do you talk like this? I hate everything. Um, doo-doo. Yep, so they go on the little shuttle, they take the shuttle to the Scopuli. The Scopuli is abandoned and weird. Um, McDowell has told Holden several times now to not be a hero. And Holden keeps going further and further, even though it's like he's reasoning in his own head whether or not it's weird.
Yeah.
And it's funny where he goes like it would have been weird for nothing to have been there. So the hole on the side of the ship is less weird than there not being a hole.
I like these quips that the author's done, and like every single chapter I find a bunch of funny things, just funny one-liners. And it's great. It's a great read.
All the characters in this one are like they're strong, I think. Um, and then the last thing they do is they find a what is it? Um, yeah, they find like a weird second transmitter, and McDowell hits them up on the radio, and he goes, "Jim, we've got a problem." Then we jump back to Miller. Or was there anything else for chapter 3 that you noticed?
Nope. Just that the ship was much bigger than I thought it was, based on their tiny shuttles that they take. It made me completely reimagine like the ships. I don't know. I just thought it was tinier than.
The Knight is really tiny. The shuttle that they're going to the Scopuli on, their ship isn't is it's not that small. You also have to consider like their ship it's a freight hauler. So I don't know, good example. It's a cargo ship.
I need to look up a picture of it. It's like I'm sure there's a picture.
I'm sure.
Okay, that makes sense. I found one.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
So
way bigger.
there's like 50 of them on the ship, and like their entire job is hauling giant like glaciers.
Literally, it was funny. I was gonna bring up like chapter 1 after reading. I was gonna bring up how are they gonna find water? That's unrealistic. Space is dumb. And then the next chapter is literally about a water hauler and getting glaciers. And I'm like, okay, well, I just like feel dumb now. I'll carry on. So that makes sense. I like that aspect. Very realistic world building. Makes it seem more grounded.
They do a lot to ground it, which is nice. Chapter 4 is Miller is eating dinner, and then he gets a call from a bar that Havelock is looking for a fight. So Havelock has gone from being this very happy-go-lucky guy to I don't know, years of grading shit. I'm actually not sure how long he's been with Miller at this point, but it's it's enough time that he's like gotten sick and tired of the way he's being treated.
Yeah.
Uh, this is another one of just Miller being personable and being charming to people. Miller saw a father with a little kid. He goes, "How old?" 2.5. Good age. Father shrugs, smiles. Got any kids? And Miller goes, "No, got a divorce about that old." And then the line there is like they chuckle together as if that was funny. Yeah, Havelock's in a bar looking for a fight, and then Miller like pulls him out of that one, and then they go to a different bar where like a cop group. Um, but then they say the EMCN, which is the Earth Mars Coalition Navy. Um, so even though like there's distinct groups going on, right? There's the Belters themselves. There's the OPA, which supposedly represents the Belters in a dozen different ways. There's Earth and there's Mars. And Earth and Mars at this point are like close enough that they can have like a coalition navy that will go out and try and enforce laws out in the belt together.
Oh yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and this one is nice also. So Miller tells Havelock, Earth, Mars, they're not that different. And Havelock says, "You try telling that to a Martian, and they'll kick your ass." Um, So it's the different perspective going on where Miller says like from here from Ceres you can hold out your thumb and you can cover both Earth and Mars, right?
Yeah.
Havelock, who's from Earth, is saying like, why the hell are you calling me the same as a Martian? So it's just I like all of those. They're fun. Um,
Yeah, very
we
goofy
find out
racism.
we find out there's a few other like PMC groups. There's Protogen, Pinkwater, Albuquerque, Alabeek. Um, And then this one ends with them in the cop bar when they all get like the same beeper page. So I guess because they're all security, they're all on like the same sort of network. So
Mhm.
it's like everyone getting hit at the same time. And it's like, all right, if there's if you're around like civilians, get away from them. And then you got to watch the video. And the video that they see is Holden's message out, where it starts with "My name is James Holden." Um, and then from there we go to chapter 5, and this is sort of like the way that time works between the chapters and the perspectives, where the last chapter ended with Miller getting the message, and then this one goes to Holden like maybe a couple hours before that.
Yeah, bouncing back and forth, going backwards. Yeah.
Going backwards like a snip just to get a different perspective on what's going on. And I think they do that one a few more times later on, but I like that sort of storytelling shift.
Yeah, they did it really well here. Sometimes it
Uh,
can be terrible, but this is great.
5 is just the really panicky stuff where there's a ship that comes out of nowhere, um, and the it fires missiles at the Canterbury, and they don't know what's going to happen, and they think they're going to get hit by like pirates and boarded, and then the ship just gets vaporized. And this is that just a couple pages of just like that frantically happening.
Yeah. Was it like a nuclear weapon they said? I forget what type
Yeah,
of
yeah, the Canterbury gets nuked.
nuked. Dang. That's wild. Definitely not
Yep.
pirates.
Definitely not pirates. And they said that one earlier also because the Scopuli isn't like picked apart. Everything that's valuable is still there.
Yeah.
Um, and this is also the point where I was talking with another friend who like she also enjoys this series, and I remember we were talking about it like a while ago, and our perspectives on Holden as a character were like completely different because I think Holden is like I think Holden is a fantastic character, and she's like she finds Holden like tiresome. um, and this is the one where it's like I didn't remember Holden being this dumb. So Holden clearly before this, like he has a wandering mind. Well, people will be talking to him, and he'll be daydreaming or thinking of something else, or he'll be talking to someone else when he should be listening to like whoever's talking to him.
Yeah.
Um, so this is the one where the Canterbury is destroyed, and Holden's like temper first thing impulsively to do is to put together a data package to send to the ship that just blew up all his friends, basically telling them that they're monsters, and he's gonna find them, and these are all the people that you killed.
I was just
And
sighing the whole
you,
time. I was like, no,
you
don't do that.
like you don't know if they've got more missiles to turn around and kill you. You didn't know if they knew where you were before, but if they didn't know before, now they sure as hell know.
Yeah. So many. That was the one thing you don't do, and he just went for it.
Yep. And then Naomi follows that one almost immediately after that, where now that Holden's in charge, she's the executive officer, and she goes, "It's the XO's job to tell the captain when he's being an idiot. You're being an idiot." Um, and fortunately for all of them, they don't get blown up by the ship again. And then after that, we get Holden's message to the rest of the system, which is what Miller was seeing at the end of the last chapter. He goes, "My name is James Holden. My ship, the Canterbury, was just destroyed by a warship with stealth technology, which appears to be parts, and what appears to be parts stamped with Martian Navy serial numbers. Data stream to follow." And just to get ahead of ourselves, chapter 6, that's where Miller tells Havelock, "That prick Holden, he just declared war on Mars for us." So that sentence from Holden, what do you think? Is that declaring war?
Yeah, that's so real. Yeah, I think so. I, uh, I can see both sides of the argument, but I also like right when he said that, I was like, yep, he definitely declared war. I don't know how the tensions were before this. He's living in this universe. He knows what the tensions were like, or because obviously they're all racist towards each other. So I'd assume that they're pretty hostile in governance, and it's like teetering. So anything like that it's a like assassinating the president, basically, is what he did there with that statement, saying that they just attacked a. That's how That's how America got involved in World War I, with the destruction of a aid ship. So that's exactly what they could do. So that's only if I'm thinking of it correct, and if they're teetering on tension between
The
the
right
nations, but.
the relationship isn't great, but Jim says it afterwards where like he's not directly or he did not directly implicate the Martian Navy, but he goes, "I found it's stealth technology," and they talk about that one later with Alex, where they're saying that the only people with stealth is it's either Mars or Earth. They found the Martian battery on the bottom of the transceiver, or like the thing sending the SOS. Um, and then the question is, I guess from Jim's point of view, he's basically saying like, I didn't say it was Mars. I just gave all the information that I had.
Yeah, I could see his perspective.
Yeah,
Information is power.
information is in fact power. So that's the end of chapter 5. Into chapter 6, it's back to Miller, where they're talking about what the hell they're going to do. Uh, so, like, Havelock is sort of lost as far as, like, why the hell this is a big deal. Because, as far as he's concerned, like, this is a water hauler. It's not like there aren't more of them. Um, he didn't specifically say the Martian Navy did it. Like, there's a lot of similarities, I think, between Havelock's character and Holden's.
Oh yeah.
Um, then we get the idea that that Havelock brings up, which is something called selective effect. So you can imagine there's like different sociologists in this sort of era who are trying to like analyze the Belters as contrasted to like the Martians and the Earthers. And Havelock is saying like to Miller, I can't believe that you believe this shit. Because Miller is explaining like the Belters value the water, they value their air, they value like literally everything they have because of what you're saying, where it's like space is scary.
Yeah.
So like when the Belters lose an ice hauler, they're losing oxygen, they're losing water, they're losing all these different resources that they need to survive because they're still human or they're still carbon based life forms. Because the follow up to that one is poor Miller who's never heard this stupid theory. He's going, what the hell is what the hell is selective effect? And Havelock is like being the Havelock is being like the shit lib. It was like, this is it's racist propaganda bullshit. It's the one that says the difference in environment has changed the Belters so much that instead of just being a bunch of skinny obsessive compulsives, they aren't really human anymore. And poor Miller's there, he's going, I'm not saying that, Miller said, suspecting that it was exactly what he was saying. So I don't know, what do you think? Are the Belters aliens?
100%.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. I think Pavlov is not very bright here.
Yep. So then they're going into like the ones that wait to get the whole story aren't our problem. So it's sort of the thing where Jim was hoping that he gives everyone the information, they do with it what they will, and they understand what's going on. And poor Miller and Havelock and the rest of Star Helix have to deal with the people who are going to fly off the handle.
Yeah. If only he understood how that worked.
Yeah, if only he wasn't also like a terrible hothead.
Yeah. I think that message too to the galaxy was being impulsive, just like his first one to the enemies that just destroyed. He could have waited and gone back to say it privately, but yeah, he just started a riot basically.
A riot, possibly worse. What else? They all get called back to the police station. Shadid tells them we have an order from the governor that we're not going to do any proactive detentions. No one gets arrested until they do something. So this is uh, what they were talking about, where they've got a bunch of OPA guys that they know about, and the governor is sympathetic enough to the OPA that he's not going to like put them all in lockdown.
Yeah.
And like there's a bunch of people in Star Helix who aren't happy about that. And then Shadid just says he's the one that gave us our job, so we're just going to do what he says. So Shadid seems to be happy with like also now cracking down on the OPA. I'm sure Miller has people who are sympathetic with him, where they're like the OPA are criminals. There's that really tense relationship between Star Helix and like the Belters themselves. So let's see. They send them all out to do like SWAT work. The SWAT lockers have all been, or not the SWAT, the riot. They go out to do riot control. The riot control gear has all been stolen by someone, and then they go into the SWAT lockers. And Miller's not happy about that because the SWAT stuff is for killing people. He's like, I don't really want to do that.
That was so goofy to me. How do you lose your your gear? Is it that not secured, or had to be some type of inside job, or something? Like that should have been more of a red flag to me in the book, but they kind of just like, oh well, whatever, it's just gone. But
it's definitely a red flag. They're definitely not happy about it. That's not like a brushed and gone thing. That's a plot point.
Okay, good. I know he does bring it up later to the guy. He asked if he knows anything, but I feel like to me it seemed like they brushed over for at least for now. But yeah, I'm glad that they do bring that back up if they do, because I was like, they're just kind of the way they put it. I mean, just reading the chapter first with no context, it was just like brushed off, like whatever. It's just a bunch of gear gone. But because immediately he went to the next set of gear. But I would have been like, okay, yeah, we've got someone on the inside, and we got to take care of this first. This calls my attention.
Well, they've got a riot going on. I don't know if they've got time to take care of that one.
Well, true, but I feel like without hindsight, I would have thought that the gear would have been stolen by rioters at first, so they would have kind of crossed paths. But that didn't happen. My theory would have gotten the whole station killed. So next, I guess
Next bit.
failed.
So we get Miller fighting with this one guy who's like super roided.
Oh, I love that fight.
I don't know if they mention it too much, but like just because of like growing up in space, the Belters have to deal with a lot of like different drug therapies and things to like develop normally. You caught the part where they're all like really tall and lanky, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this poor guy's gotta. Well, he doesn't have to, but he has chosen to roid up to get really big. But his thighs are so big that he waddles. Uh, so I don't know if the roids are doing him much good. Um, but he gets into a fight with Miller, and this is the accusation of like Miller being a race traitor. So he goes, he calls him an earth dog. He says, "Inners kibble you, bitch, you they dog." Kibble being like they feed you. Uh, and Miller has to explain to him like I'm from here, and that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's another question for you: Is Miller a race traitor, and the rest of the Star Helix guys?
Oh yeah, 100%.
100%.
100% race trader. Even though I I guess it's interesting that they use a race based on where you're born because it goes from who you're born from now to like where you're born planet wise, and that gets very iffy because it's like what if you're the same race? But it's very interesting how it's like evolved even more. It's like advanced racism. Um
It
and
seems like it, yeah,
yeah.
because like um Mars is not like one unified race either, and then also the Belters are absolutely not. So like Naomi, Naomi's black. Her last name's Nagata, right? So she's like a mud of all sorts of kind of stuff. The Belter Creole itself is just everything put together. Like this guy's talking German for a bunch of his stuff when he's dissing Miller. So yeah, it's just all over the place. But just the way that you grow up in the different gravity wells, whether you're in normal gravity on Earth or whether you're in, you know, whatever sub-zero or like a little bit above zero gravity and like the different space station things, just the way you look, I guess, is that much more distinct.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, so one of the cops blows this guy's legs off and he's not very happy, and then Miller uses that as an example of like I don't know, the way Miller talks that one down is like very very I don't know if it's contrived or it's funny. um, where he goes and after this poor guy is like, you know, kneecapped, Miller's talking to the rest of the group on like a speaker that goes through like the station or at least the room that they're in, like overhead blare at them. And he's going like, "This is what Mars wants. Mars wants us to fight." And like, don't you want to fight for the belt? And if you want to fight for the belt, you can't riot now because if you riot now, you're going to be like this idiot and you're going to go to jail.
I found it goofy at the same time of him like he just nailed a guy and then he's like, "This is what they made me do this. You guys are making this is great." It was funny to read, but then that his he topped it off very nicely, ending the ride. He said some. It was serious and funny at the same time. It's very interesting. It made me feel both those things.
The last bit where he goes, "Only one dead makes it a good night." And the one dead person is that Martian uh, who the big muscly guy beat to death. It's not a fun crowd.
Yeah.
Chapter 7 goes back to Holden. So this is Holden, Amos, Naomi, and Alex and Shed on the night, and they're trying to talk to the HR department of Pure and Clear, the company that they work for. So Holden has tried to instigate 2 fights at this point, and now he's waiting for corporate directive. And they take like 3 hours to get back to him, and the guy that gets back to him isn't the HR guy, it's like it's the company lawyer.
Yeah.
And the company lawyer tells him you're gonna get picked up by a giant Martian warship.
Yeah, that must have been very intimidating.
Yep. There's not too much else out of this one. They find out they're being followed by like 6 mystery ships, and also I don't remember if they were saying it before, but Holden likes coffee.
The way they were talking about uh being picked up and their only options, I really did think I was like 90% sure they were gonna not go that route and they were gonna be the rebels and just like try and get away. But because they were really edging the conversation that way, but then they're like, oh yeah, no, we're here now. We're picked up. We're just gonna go get picked up. But yeah, it did seem like they were gonna try and like go on their own because they were all like, yeah, I'm ready to die. Our friends died. Let's just go and try and save ourselves.
One of the other like hard sci-fi things in this one is that like you can't really hide in space. Uh, if you're flying around on like a jet, you're very hot, and anything that can sort of see out into space can see exactly where you are. So as far as their like attempts at hiding, they're not gonna have much luck. Like the stealth stuff that blows up the Canterbury is very new at this point. Like no one knows where it sort of came from. It's very experimental.
Mm.
Uh, so what is it? Alex and Jim are both like military guys, and they're barely aware of it. Yeah, I didn't have too much else for chapter 7. Chapter 8, it's back to Miller. Aggression against the belt is what Earth and Mars survive on. Our weakness is their strength. The masked woman said behind Miller's terminal screen, the split circle of the OPA draped behind her, like someone painted it on a sheet. Don't be afraid of them. Their only power is your fear. And Havelock says, well, that and 100 or so gunships. Miller's there. From what I hear, if you clap your hands and say you believe, they can't shoot you. So
That's
you
a
also
great
see
line.
like the sort of the magical thinking or the optimism of the OPA. Yeah, and they have their chant of "Remember the Canterbury." Uh,
That was a good ship to die for, the cost. The Canterbury.
I
I love it
guess.
so much. Great name.
Eh. Havelock says she's my favorite, though. There's times I swear she's foaming from the mouth. Oh, and of course, Havelock has been doing paperwork this entire time because Miller is smart enough to know that like you don't put him out like on the riot police lines because, of course, he sticks out like a sore thumb, and if they get their hands on him, he's gonna die.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
I'm viewing their relationship as like a father-son type thing because of the age gap too. He's like just trying to protect his dumb child, but the reason he's dumb is just because he's in a different race. So
yeah, he doesn't know like the dynamic, or he doesn't know the dynamic that well. Uh, Havelock asks Miller about what he's done with the Julie case, and Miller has not had time to do any of that. And then he decides to just go and see anyway. So he goes over to her apartment, and I guess the station itself or the whole place is so interconnected that like the police have just the ability to unlock doors and things. So he can go and just walk straight into her apartment and like go into her computer and see all of her stuff. So he does some snooping. Goes into her thing, sees her apartment. It's not all that fancy. This is where we get more of a more of a look at Julie and like just the way that she is. So uh, I don't know. Again, Julie is kind of like that hardcore girl boss kind of thing. And oh, the authors of this one are like very lefty.
oh
I,
yeah.
I don't know if very lefty is fair, but they're lefty. Uh, so like the way that they present Julie, I think they want to make her like this very endearing character, and like I'm split on that because on one hand, it like she's in that respectable position of like actually going to do the thing,
Mhm.
right? So what is it? Thunberg's thing where she went to or tried to go to Palestine with her little sailboat.
Yeah, that was funny. I watched the video of that.
Yeah. where she got her she got her sandwiches after she got caught by Israel or whatever.
Yeah.
But she did it like Thunberg did it for like basically for like a media thing. I don't think she expected to get very far.
Oh,
But
100%.
but the way Julie is, it's almost like that the Hamas not Hamas the ISIS bride chick. Remember that one girl that left the UK to go to wherever the hell it was, Syria or whatever, and was there for years, like literally torturing people, and she was trying to get like citizenship back into the UK.
Yeah.
So like I know it's not fair because it's a much more like sterilized version of that. But like I feel that's where they're trying to push Julie as far as like what her backstory is because she's a rich girl who went off to college, got involved with a OPA sympathy group, and then decided that she was going to go and literally join the OPA.
Yeah, and overbearing parents is how they're framing it. Rich overbearing parents that are overprotective.
Yep.
So
And she's gone from like this very privileged sort of life. Like her hobby before this is literally racing spaceships.
yeah, just like racing horses. It kind of made me
Yeah.
think of.
And she goes from that to being a wannabe freedom fighter or maybe like a full-fledged one.
Mhm.
Yeah. So then we get what is it? The emails between Julie's mom and her, where Julie's mom is trying to guilt her into coming home, and Miller's like baffled by how like unsettled they are.
Oh
Where it's like, if you don't come home, I'm gonna break your toys or I'm gonna sell your toys.
yeah.
What's the last one? She's gonna the last email that she sends after she like gives up on trying to like beg her mom to not sell the ship. She's like, "Do what you have to do." Miller laughs, raises his bottle to the screen, and toast. So like Miller likes her. Like, good for you, kid. Or what's he say? He says Miller leans back. He says, "Steady on, kid," to the imaginary Julie. And then the last bit there is the email from the mother to Julie that like 2 weeks before any of the stuff with the Canterbury happens that she knows something freaky is going to go on in the belt and she needs to come home for her own safety. So this is where we start getting on the idea of like how intertwined is this.
Yeah.
I don't know. At this point, did your opinion of Julie changed, or you still weren't aware like it was the same character?
Uh, I think I had this. Okay. I was like 50-50. I was like put putting both plot lines in my head of this. If this is the same character, then uh, interesting, and if not, but I do think Julie is I was beginning to suspect, obviously way more intertwined with the story, but I did start thinking they were trying to turn her into more of a girl boss, especially with the karate or jiu-jitsu, what was it, lessons?
Yeah. Like sub 1G jujitsu or low gravity jujitsu.
Yeah.
Well, they even that one's just straight out of the prologue. Like, yeah, I can I can put up a fight. Like, yeah, you tried.
You tried.
It's the Reddit silver. um,
I can appreciate that she just didn't win against every single person with her jiu-jitsu, and they actually like, nope, woman, you're just getting one single punch and you're down.
yeah, there's that part. But yeah, she tries. She's got the spunk. She's got the attitude.
Yeah.
Uh, she certainly cares.
Indeed.
Um, Chapter 9 goes back to Holden. They're sitting on the ship waiting to get picked up. Shed has his little breakdown where he's yeah, it's just that Shed had his breakdown. Holden says they can get drunk and cry together, and it's, again, they're still like a family unit.
Yeah.
Oh, and this is when they get the message out of the blue from Fred Johnson. So they give like the very brief summary of who Fred is. So Fred is like an Earth hero who was ordered to, trying to think, I guess ordered to do a war crime. Um, so there was the story of like the whatever the station was that had put a 3% tax on, like, I think it was oxygen, and there was a group of people that could not afford to like pay the 3% tax. So they go to the station, and the guy that imposed the tax, they shove him out an airlock. They just kill him. And I think Miller talks about this one a couple of times in these chapters, where there's like the way that the Belters act. Like if you fuck with the air, if you fuck with the water, like they don't play. It's just like just mob justice kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, it made me think of the American Revolution, like exactly like mobs lynching all these people for all these British politicians, because don't they take over like the area for a bit, riot? They keep rioting too. It's like a bunch of mob stuff. So yeah, American Revolution vibes with that.
It's definitely that sort of well, even with the culture that we talked about in like the first chapter of like if someone needs help in the belt, you like the good thing to do is to go and help.
Yeah.
So this is a case of like if someone is not taking care of the air filters, you get rid of them and you replace them with someone that takes care of the air filters.
Hmm.
I don't know if we skipped it. There was one line that I like really like in this one, and I like it because it makes me laugh in like a very very sort of evil way. It's like Ceres doesn't have laws, Ceres has police.
That's a good line.
And it's just like that's a nutshell of like the most I don't know the makings of like a really evil society.
Oh yeah,
uh,
it's a rabbit hole to think about.
yeah. Uh, so yeah, the backstory for Johnson is he gets ordered to take down 170 rebels inside of a station, and the rebels are people who are literally upset because they're being priced out of like the air that they breathe.
Mm.
Um, and because of just the way that networking and the internet works in this sort of this world, the entire like massacre of all the rebels is televised, and Fred like I guess sees his own like war crimes televised, and his story after that is he gives up his Earth citizenship and he goes out to be an OPA leader. So this is one of the ideas of like the OPA being or trying to be like a government.
Yeah.
And also Fred is an Earther, so that's more of the like the animosity between the different groups. You can imagine like the really hardcore OPA guys who don't like the Earthers not liking that one of their premier like political guys is an Earther.
Yeah.
And then I guess Johnson just gives him an out where like the next time that you're on camera or whatever, use the word ubiquitous, and that way I can know that you're not like you're not being influenced or controlled.
Mm.
Yeah. And yeah, they get the message, they erase the message, and then they're waiting for the Donager. Anything you got out of that one?
Uh, Yep. I just some nice world building. I really do like the world building in this book. It's really good. Like they just go into so much detail over things, and I haven't found any holes that I could mention yet, but I totally would mention them because I like mentioning holes. So it's doing a really good job on that part, on that aspect. I just like the whole story of Fred's too. Fred's like story. It makes sense and it does seem like something that would happen realistically.
Stupid taxes ruining everything. Chapter 10 goes back to Miller, where Miller is trying to tell Shadid about what he thinks is the connection between the Mao emails and all the shit that's happening with the Canterbury, and she tells him to shut up and go do his job. Um, so she's not happy about it, and I don't know if she's not happy about it because she's more unhappy about the riots and she thinks that he's wasting time or what it might be, or if she like knows more. I don't think she does, but I think it really is just a case of she thinks he's wasting time.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's what I read it as. Yeah.
then they go to like some kiosk store that got robbed, and the poor guy there is trying to tell Miller like who robbed him without telling him who robbed him. Um, just like the different organized thing. So there's the Golden Bough Society, Shiro's crew, the Loca Grega. There's just all these different different like mafia groups.
Mm.
And he's getting shook down by a new guy called Mateo. And the only important thing about that is that like a chapter later, we're told that Mateo's been executed in his room. What else? There's a split circle OPA guy, like an armband, and he says he found an armband in Julie's room, and he's disappointed in her. Like, what kind of company are you keeping, kid? So it's just more and more of Miller warming up to his impression of Julie.
I don't think 200 years will ever bring back armbands. I think that's a dead in our universe. We've lost that fashion.
Who knows?
Who knows? Maybe 200 years in Space Society. Makes me wonder how similar the OPA logo is now.
It's a split circle. It's a circle with like it's the Deadpool face without the eyes.
Interesting. So kind of like anarchist a little bit, kind of a little bit.
Oh, definitely. Uh, uh, was it Miller meets Anderson Dawes, but he doesn't name himself yet. I think he does, or I think he does meet him, or maybe not.
The OPA guy on
Oh
chapter
no,
two.
he does. Yeah,
Yeah.
the OPA man frowned. Yeah.
It was a quick conversation.
Yep.
It didn't go well at the end. It did not, because he was being told off like to
Yeah.
stand aside for this investigation, which is weird. You'd think if they were scared, they would not mind some guy helping, but
I think they want to like keep it inside of their group. And, yeah.
Interesting.
Uh,
You're more sus. You're
and
drawing attention to yourself, buddy.
and so OPA is not moving in on the criminals. Miller said they're moving in on the cops. So yeah, just the OPA is making moves. With the, I guess the idea here is that the different gang groups are leaving, so that leaves room for the OPA to move in.
Yeah.
And that like draws the distinction between like the petty thugs and criminals and like the OPA guys who think they've got a mission.
Mm.
Chapter 11, Holden. They go on board the Doniger. More space stuff. The Donigers. It looks like an office building. It's a brick with engines and guns. Yeah, Amos isn't very happy about it because Amos thinks that the Martians killed the Canterbury. What else? They talked about how the ship is really really clean. Alex explains that like the all the crewmen have nothing better to do, and Amos says like that's why I'm not military. He'd rather be banging horse and getting drunk. Amos is a fun character.
Yeah.
This is one that I highlighted here that was very cute. So Holden is getting interrogated or interviewed by the Navy intelligence officer who's on like super Adderall. And he goes, the intelligence guy goes, "Your file says you were busted out for assaulting a superior officer." He goes, "That's pretty cliche." But, so even when the book is being cliche, it like I like how it lampshaded it,
Yeah.
just right there. He asks him whether or not Holden is an OPA sympathizer, and Holden says no. He likes Earth. He's still a citizen. He likes being in space. He likes flying. And what is it? They launched the torpedoes at the ships that were following them, and yeah, so they bring Holden back to the other ones, and yeah, then they're freaking out because they don't know why there's a fight. The Donager is supposed to kill anything, and they're being under attack.
Yeah.
And then your boy dies. This is where Shed is out.
Boy, dead.
Yep. Chapter 12 is back to Miller. 30 years Miller had worked security, so Miller has to be in his 50s. I guess before that one, anything else you got from the Doninger chapter? Like the first time they see it?
No, I think one thing that was important though that like I'm noticing is this author has no like chill when it comes to killing off characters. Perfectly fine. So
No, I guess not.
So I'd like to comment that it's really funny that I read John or not John, sorry. I read Snow Crash, and then you guys did book club on Snow Crash, and then I've recently reread the Expanse books, and now you guys are reading the Expanse books.
You're always welcome to join the club.
Yeah, well, I mean, the scheduling doesn't always work, and I don't always have the time to read at the rate you guys are reading. I just found it funny that I just finished rereading it. It's like, okay.
It's all the more reason for you to hop in. Yeah.
Leviathan Wakes is the first one, right?
Yep, first one.
I think when did I finish Leviathan? The last one. I can't remember what the last one's called. I finished the last one like maybe 2 months ago.
Nice.
Again, that's like the second time through.
It's a great series.
It is.
I'm warming up Cap to it.
oh yeah.
It's good stuff. Amos is my favorite character because he's just freaking awesome.
Yep. So don't spoil too much. So Cap's only on chapter 14 of the first book.
I'm just gonna say Amos is awesome. That's all I'm gonna say. Amos is awesome.
I agree.
In particular, with what's the guy's name? The doctor in
That's
book two.
Book 2. Yep.
I can't remember what's it. I can't. I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Brax.
Yeah, Prax.
Yep.
When at the end of that book with Prax, it's like, oh, it's so good.
Got that, Cap? You got to read the whole series now. All right.
I just had to pop it. See you guys later.
Hey, the endorsement's good. Later, man. There you go. You got to read all 9 of them now.
Now you're validated. You're first person that validates the reading.
My first one. Yeah. I am validated ever so slightly. Yeah. I guess the only big one from the Donager chapter is also that Holden acknowledges that like Mars outclasses Earth as far as like the quality of what they've got.
Yeah.
So it's the wealthiest groups are obviously Earth and Mars. The explanation from one of like the side stories is that Mars was like a scientist colony. So Mars is like it's the like the intellectual Ubermensch of Earth. So like Earth has more stuff, Mars has better stuff, and the belt has the resources, but the belt doesn't have shit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So Elon Musk actually made it.
I guess so.
Started his Musk colony.
Yep. Yep. So that was 11. Yep. The Doninger is under attack. 12 is Miller. And Miller's eating. I don't know if they talked about it before this one, but it's like everyone eats just like mushrooms and yeast, everything in space is like some laboratory or like greenhouse grown thing.
Yeah.
They don't, no cows, none of that stuff. Miller goes to where Julie learns jujitsu, talks with her teacher, and talks more with Dawes, I think. Oh, and Judd is just killed by the OPA. Yes, last bit there is they're going, what scares the OPA? Oh, and yeah, Miller tells Havelock to just take his vacation time and get out of Dodge because he thinks, or he's got a bad feeling about this. Anything else that you got out of that one? I think it's more like world building and like raising tension kind of things.
Yeah, just more world building, so very interesting.
13 is back to the Donager, where they're I think this is when they're like frantically fixing the room, and they fix it with the binder that says like what to do in emergencies.
Mm. I love that part where he slapped the binder on there.
Yep.
It's so ironic, so good.
They use binder and super glue, and then they get handed some suits, and then they're escorted out of whatever like holding cell they're in by the Martian soldiers or Marines.
Hmm.
Yeah, and there's just a giant firefight going on inside the Donager. And then this one ends with them almost at like the escape ship that they're going to. So this one's just like a giant action scene chapter. Like the Martian Marines are pretty badass, but they're dealing with pirates or whatever these mystery guys are.
Yeah, seems like they get their asses kicked though. Like
Yeah.
pretty well done. So it makes me I don't think obviously you probably know already. I don't think they are pirates based on whooping ass, so wonder who they are.
Like, oh, the plot thickens.
The plot thickens. It's so curious. I need to know who is doing this.
Chapter 14 goes back to Miller. The opening of this one is like it's a little world building blurb, but it sort of goes into how on edge everyone is.
Hmm.
So there's a ship called the Xinglong, which is owned by owned by like a small group of like Belter families. So you can imagine this is like a co-op where they like pool their resources together so that they have a ship so that they can go out and like make money.
Yeah.
And that ship and a Martian ship or a Martian military ship are going to like the same place to get water. And because the Martian ship sees the Belter ship running cold or running silent, or like they're not announcing who they are, like they're trying to sneak up, the Martians shoot them down, and like this is another grain in the heap of like, look at what the inners are doing to us, because like this was totally uncalled for. This was like out of place violence.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Miller's there's just like the Xinglong died stupid. Yeah, the reaction had been as predictable as elementary physics. The Martians were diverting another couple of dozen ships to help maintain order. Yeah, so the Martian ship blew up a Belter ship. The Belters freak out, and the Martians have to send more ships. And then what's going to happen? Then there's some. I think there's some poor guy that like gets killed and like strung up in a hallway. Just sort of going more into the animosity between them all. And then Miller's there. He's got to put together like a little, like formal. It's like a form letter. Have you ever had to fill any of those out? Where like you click on the drop down of like Mr., Mrs., whatever.
Yeah.
So he's going through this, like, Dear Mrs. Dos Santos, I'm very sorry to have to tell you, blah, blah, blah. Yours, he spun through the menu. Husband was a valued and respected member of the series community, and I assure you that everything possible will be done to see that her, Miller toggled that, his killer or killers will be brought to answer for.
That was such a good part. I love that.
And like
So goofy.
he's in pain as he's doing it. He's like, God damn it, this is all so corporate and like unpersonal.
uh,
Uh, Then I guess Miller learns or was told by Dawes that Julie was on the Scopuli. So this is like his next lead
mm,
as far as where Julie went. And the Scopuli is the ship that was like cored at the start of the prologue.
yeah.
Uh, and then like Miller has his I think Miller talks with Dawes again, where they sort of come to an understanding, or they think that they do. And like this is another part where Miller is like perfectly comfortable just lying through his teeth. He's like, "Yeah, I wasn't gonna follow up at all. I wasn't gonna do anything. I wouldn't have sent her home. I wasn't even trying to find her that hard or whatever." And then Dawes is happy because he thinks that they're like on the same page. And then after he leaves, Miller turns around and he sends an email to Julie's dad. It's like, hey, we haven't talked. I'm on the Star Helix security thing, and I'm looking for your daughter. And I have a couple questions.
Me saying that, it's like I think Miller's gonna get caught by them very soon here again. You're gonna have another talk and be like, I thought we told you to stop. That we had agreement. It's coming very soon, just because of how kind of I don't like the word reckless, but I'll say reckless he is with it. He just doesn't care.
I I think he thinks he's being sly.
Yeah.
So, 14 chapters in, 8 more books to go. What do you think?
It's great world building. I really like the world building, and I like the characters so far. Great at making characters, so very interested. It goes to show you don't have to have a like topic you like, because I still hate space, but I like the characters and I like the world building, so I'm in it. And I love and hate that we ended on uh the last chapter with Holden where they're like escaping, like right, the guy, I think the very last line was like he gets shot, the guy leading them gets shot. That was
Yeah,
so
it's like an
sad.
explosion of light, and then it ends there. Like the chapters end on very, very good cliffhangers.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's really well written. I like the way that the story's set up. I think the characters are even the characters that I find annoying are like delightful in their own little way. Like they're all charming, or they've all got like they've all got like their thing. So
Yeah.
even if I do think Julie is like one of those people that you know damn well that if she saw like the timcast form, she'd like flip shit.
Oh yeah.
but but you make her into a character in a book, and like she's very strong-willed and opinionated and all the other stuff. It's like, yeah, it's a fun character to read about.
100%.
Anything else that stuck out to you besides I hate space, I like these characters, and I like the world building?
Not initially. Not yet. So many mysteries that are like pinging around.
Yeah, what's going on with the gangsters? Where did the riot gear go? Who are the people that attacked the Doniger? All that stuff, yeah. What are they trying to do?
Yeah.
What's going on with Julie? All right, well, I'm glad you're liking it so far, and we'll let the other folks catch up, and I'll put up the next week's reading.